Hi, boys and girls. Today, I'm going to work as a Comcast technician. I fix your TVs. But I'm going to read you a story today, too. It's one of my favorites. It's called A Friend Like Ed. Mildred and Ed had been friends for as long as anyone could remember, even though some thought Ed was a bit unusual. And Mildred had to admit that Ed did have some strange hobbies. Still, no one could hold a candle to Ed's homemade fudge frosted triple layer cake, or make Mildred laugh so hard her eyes would water. One Saturday morning, Mildred said, "Let's try something different." "Like what?" asked Ed. "How about poetry? It's romantic," answered Mildred. "Okay," said Ed. Ed was the surprise hit of the poetry class. He could rhyme for anything. Can you rhyme words? How about we do cats, and what rhymes with cats? Hats! Cat and hat. And any place was the right time for a poem. One day at the market, Ed stopped in the middle of the aisle for a poem. Mildred felt eyes peering from the pears. She heard snickering from behind the snow peas. She sensed giggling going on by the grapes. Mildred was so embarrassed that she tiptoed backward out of the store, hoping no one would notice that she was Ed's friend. That night, Mildred dreamed that her room was filled with Ed's button collection. Buttons on the floor, buttons on the chair, buttons on the walls, buttons everywhere. Then she dreamed she was ice skating, wearing a fancy dress. People oohed and ahed as they watched her skate. The next day, Mildred went to the ice skating ring. She held tightly to the side because her knees wobbled. That was when she first saw Pearl. Pearl was in the middle of the rink, spinning around and around. Mildred was sure no one could ever think Pearl was unusual in any sort of odd way. And she was positive Pearl could never recite poetry. Autumn blew like the wind. Ed sat on top of the hill and watched. The squirrels gathered acorns. Pearl invited Mildred to a costume party. "We will go as a huge dragon," Pearl announced. Pearl made a very impressive dragon. Mildred had a hard time seeing and an even harder time eating. When winter came, Mildred and Pearl went skating on the pond. Pearl said, "Want to see me do a triple twirl?" One morning, Pearl showed Mildred all of her ice skating awards. Then she took out her photo albums. "Wasn't I the cutest baby you ever saw?" Pearl asked as she turned the pages. Mildred was busy staring out the window at a tree. It had a round, sparkling drop of ice that looked like hundreds of buttons. Winter was long. Ed sorted buttons by colors. He sorted buttons by size. Late that night, he pulled the covers around him. He was wishing for spring, and secretly, in a voice no one could hear, he was wishing for his friend Mildred. When the first snow fell, Pearl and Mildred went sledding. Pearl wore her new purple scarf with matching mittens and hats. She sat on the sled and stretched out her legs. "Where will I sit?" Mildred asked. "I will sled down the hill," Pearl said, "and you can sled up." The next day, Mildred woke up with a sweet tooth. "There's nothing I want except fudge frosted triple layer cake," she thought. "No one could ever make a cake that way Ed could, but I just have to try." Mildred looked at the pantry only to find some jars of this and cans of that, but nothing that would make a fudge frosted triple layer cake. So Mildred decided to go to the market. It was cold outside, the kind of cold that chills you from the inside out. Mildred dressed in very warmest clothes she could find until only a bit of her face was showing. Then she set off for town. Snow blew in Mildred's face. The wind howled. She was about to pass by the pond when she saw someone. Who in the world would be skating on a day like this today, she wondered. Whoever it was, he was not very good. But there was something familiar about the way he stumbled along. Ed, thought Mildred, and she hid behind a tree. Ed began to skate back and forth in the most oddly manner. What could he be doing, Mildred wondered. He wrote her name out. What a nice friend. There was no one there, but on the stoop he saw a small box and a note. He carefully opened the box. The note said, Dear Ed, you may think this is a pen, but it is not. It is 1,000 poems waiting to be written. It is a pair of wings to help you fly. Love, Mildred. Ed knocked on Mildred's kitchen door. Mildred was putting the finishing touches on a very lopsided fudge-frosted triple-layer cake. Ed suddenly felt shy. He looked down at his sneakers. Thank you for the pen, he said. Mildred blushed. I wanted to write you a poem, but didn't know how. I guess I need lessons. But you did write me a poem, Ed said. Mildred stood over the kitchen chair. Ed, oh Ed, don't ever go. Ed, oh Ed, I miss you so. Ed, oh Ed, what would I do? Ed interrupted. Don't worry, Mildred. You're my best friend, too. The end. I hope everyone enjoyed my story today. I will see you later. Bye.